Hi, welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a craft kit we'll be giving out starting September 1st, 2023. But if you're watching this later on our YouTube channel or you didn't have time to come to the library to get a kit, don't worry, I'll tell you everything you need to make this project using supplies you buy at any craft store. So today what we'll be making is this cute little keychain, macrame keychain with wooden beads. And it's super simple, and once you make one, then you can make one with your kids or grandkids. They're super easy and fun to make. I'll show you what's in the kit or what you'll need to buy. You'll get a bunch of different colors of yarn, and we are working with 8-foot lengths today. And you should get, at least 5 or 6 colors in there. You will have 2 beads. Now, if you're buying these at home, you need to buy ones that have very large eyes. Because the yarn is going to go, most of the yarn is going to go through the hole. So you'll need big-eyed ones. Now, these are plain wooden ones, but you are certainly welcome to decorate these if you'd like. If you have the kit, they look really cool if you paint them with fingernail polish, like a glitter fingernail polish or something like that. Or you can just use regular craft paints and paint little designs on there, polka dot or whatever you want. Or you could just leave them plain wood like I've got here. Now you will also get a plain key ring. This is just the kind where it comes apart and you slide the keys on. You're certainly welcome to buy a kind that has, you know, the little lobster claw, the clasp that opens and shut. That will work fine as long as it's got a little ring on the bottom of it. What you will also need to provide yourself is some tape and a pair of scissors. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, we're actually going to take 1/2 and I'm just going to thread one end through and bring this up and get back to the center. Let me redo this. There we go. All right, so now we're going to have to tie a knot, but we don't want to tie it too tight, because remember, if we get it too tight, when we get up here, it's gonna catch on those and start sliding up under. So we're gonna have to tie a knot that's gonna be a little bit lower. So I just pull all of these through and pull a knot and make sure your resulting loop is loose. See, that way when you put your keys on there and you're sliding it around to get the keys on, it's not catching on the yarn. Okay. Now, so I've got that done. Now I'm going to take the tape that I told you you needed, and I'm going to get a big piece, and I am going to tape the key ring down onto my table or surface. I'm going to get this as far as I can up without going out of camera range. There we go. All right. Now I am going to decide what color I want on the outside. This one, I used blue and green. And the other colors will mostly be hidden. You might see them in between the knots, but mostly they'll be hidden. So you can pick one color or you can pick 2 colors. So let's say I want the dark pink. Okay. So I've got that tape down. Now we're using all of these colors for 2 reasons. One, the first one is you have a lot of options. We want you to have a lot of options on color in the kit. If you're doing it yourself, all these can be one color. That's perfectly fine. The other reason we're using multiple strands is this is going to provide a little bit of padding inside. This is how skinny it is with 2 pieces of yarn inside it. These, it's going to be a fatter one. The more pieces of yarn, you don't have to use all the pieces of yarn. The more pieces of yarn you use, the fatter around your macrame is going to be. All right, now, once I've chosen my two pieces, I'm going to take another piece of tape and I'm going to tape this down. Let's see if you can see it loosely down here. Now I want it to keep it in place, but I want it so that I can actually get up under it. I just don't want to have to deal with all of this stuff. All right, now if you've never done macrame before, it's just a series of square knots, just done in a particular fashion. You take the one on the right and you lay it over like that. You take the one on the left and just bring it straight down over that one. Now I'm going to reach underneath here, cat corner, bring this end up through the loop like that. Then I pull it fairly snug, and I'm going to need to get it up here, and as I do that I like to hold it down with my thumb and then just kind of pull it up here. Now you want these knots to be snug, but you don't want to pull it too tight. You just want it to be snug so it's not too loose. Now I'm going to repeat the process, except on this time I'm going to start on the left hand side. Do my left curve and come straight down with that one. Now I'm going to bring this one up catty corner. I'm going to take the bottom end, bring it up catty corner, under and through the loop. Then I'm going to pull it tight and then, or a semi-tight, and hold it down so that it won't move around while I pull this up snug. Now this actually may be a little too loose, so I think I'm going to tighten this up just even a little bit more. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to do the exact same thing repeated. I'm going to do on the right, come down, catty corner, through the loop, and pull it snug. Do the left, come around, straight down, pull the end catty corner through the loop. Now, as you're doing this, you may go, oh, I've forgotten whether I did left or right, whatever. I've got a little trick for you. The one you're starting with, I want you can even put a little piece of tape here on the end. That way you will know which one is your starting one. So I can go over here and down, catty corner through, and pull it snug. Now you will see the one with the tape on it is on the left, so I start with that side. Just a little trick that I use. Now if you're doing a two-tone one and you picked one color for one side and one color for the other side, it's even easier because you will always start with the same color, because On this one, I did the green, and so I started with the green and pulled the blue down over and through. And then the green's on this side, so I started with the green, pulled the blue down over and through. Then the green's on this side, you see. So that's even easier to remember. The little tape trick is only necessary if you're using a single color. Okay, now there is one other option you can do. If you do it alternating left and right, starting left, starting right, starting left, starting right, you will form a flat braid. But if you constantly start on the same side over and over again, you will form a spiral. So if I keep starting on the right side and I never start on the left, I'll show you what happens. At first, it's going to look pretty much the same, but as you go along, it's going to start twisting. Okay, so I've done it for about an inch worth. Now look at how it's starting to spiral. When this happens, when it gets to the point where you're having trouble and it's kind of like vertical, you can actually just flip this around like this and go in the direction of the spiral and just keep going. And it will keep spiraling around. Okay. Which is a kind of a cool effect, especially if you're using two-tone. So if you're doing two-tone, it will start spiraling around. You'll see it will start spiraling around looking like that. So now, how do you put the beads on? So you are welcome to do a few here. Yeah, probably about an inch worth or so. Then put a bead on, then do a little bit more, put a bead on, or you can put them all at the bottom, or you can put one at the very top and one at the very bottom, or both in the center, whatever you want to do. Or you don't even have to use them, or you don't have to use both of them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this up. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to get a fuzzy yarn to go through a wooden bead smoothly. So what I'm going to do first of all is my ends are kind of uneven, so I'm going to cut my ends even. And now I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to make a little, I'm going to tape it around fairly tightly, just to give it a little firm thing that I can push through. And then I can pull that. Now if your things are uneven, you'll want to tug them all so that they're all even and none of them are showing up over the top. There we go. Now I'm going to tape my part down here again. So now I'm just going to continue doing what I was doing before. I'm just going to bring it, instead of straight up the top, I'm going to bring it straight up under the bead. But don't pull it too snug, because you want that, if you pull it too snug, it's going to have a tendency to start sliding around everywhere. You want it firm, but just under the bead. Don't put too much tension on it. And now I just continue doing what I was doing before. Now you should also check the back of your things, because you can see on the front that it's looking nicely, but on the back you may see pieces where it's not quite as tight. In that case, you can just snug it up so that the centers don't show. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here. You don't want to make it too long, because this, after all, this is a keychain. You don't want to get it as long as a necklace. The only reason why we have so much is because to give options, because the colors that you use to around the outside, you're going to use much more of those. So the ones on the inside can be shorter, but I didn't know what color you wanted, so I gave you lots of each, just for options. Now I'm going to take the tape off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off I'm going to leave about 3 inches worth. Okay, so you should be left with a fairly long piece of your color. So we're going to use this to tie off the bottom, the tassel. Because if we just leave it like this, these knots can start coming undone and unraveling. So we need to secure it somehow. We're going to lay this sideways like this. If you're left-handed, lay it with the ring toward the right. But if you're right-handed, lay it with the tassel needs to go toward the end of the hand you're going to be using. And I'm right-handed, so the tassel is going to be on the right side. So I'm going to take my long piece, and I'm going to put this about 1.5 inches above the end of the macrame. Now I'm going to loop that like that, so that this is about 1.5 inches below the end of the macrame. Now I'm going to pinch this and hold all the pieces together. I'm going to take the long end, don't let go, but I'm going to take the long end and just start wrapping it around, starting, let me shift to where my fingers are right up at the macrame. Starting just below the end of the macrame, I'm going to start wrapping it around. So I caught itself, I caught the little end, and I caught the loop. Don't pull it too tight. You want this snug, but not tight. And you're going to go down about 1 inch worth or so, and keep holding on so it doesn't let go, and you're going to thread this end through that little loop. Okay, so I've got the piece that I was up here and the piece that's down here through the loop. I'm going to pull, I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to pull this end, and see how it's shortening that loop? Make sure that's not too loose. And it's going to pull that thread right up inside your wrap. Now don't pull it all the way through. Just pull it about halfway so that it's caught under the loops. That's when it's what's going to keep it from unraveling. Okay. Now you can just leave this end like that and just trim off this top end like that. Now if you're worried, you can actually put a little bit of glue up here to hold the top edge in place, and a little bit of glue down here if you're worried about it coming undone. You can do that. And you can actually, you can even trim off the extra piece so that it doesn't get caught, if you want, so that it doesn't accidentally get tugged. That's perfectly fine too. Now mine looks a little funny because I started with the straight macrame and then I did the twisted, but you get the idea. And now you can just thread the keys on here, and you're good to go. And you can do it in all sorts of different colors. You can do it with big fat fuzzy yarn, in which case if you do it with the big fat fuzzy yarn, don't use this many because you'll end up with a keychain that big around. Just do it with 2 or 3 strands of the 8-foot, and you'll get a big fat fuzzy one. You can do this with jute, which is a traditional macrame material, and you'll have a rustic looking one. Looks really good with the wooden beads too, which I like. Okay, and that's all for today. So thank you for coming to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl. I'll see you next time. Bye.